One of my favorite parts of playing with older and cheaper hardware is seeing just how far I can push it. Can I play X game? Will the system blow up if I run it at high settings? I don't know, but part of the fun is figuring that out. So when Starfield dropped, I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to try it on my recently built $168 computer. If it does blow up, hey, at least I'll get some good content out of it. So let me contextualize things a little bit here. A computer using Bethesda's recommended specs would be around $900 brand new. Expensive, but doable. A computer using the minimum requirements would be around $500 brand new. Again, not awfully priced. But even computers of this caliber have issues with Starfield, yet they're multiple times more powerful than my quaint little contraption. So what exactly are we working with here? And is this whole experiment pointless? So I have an entire video detailing exactly how I built this computer, but to save myself the trauma of reliving through the troubleshooting woes, here's a very quick rundown. I found a Dell Optiplex 7020 for $67 on eBay. It had an i7 6700, 8 gigs of RAM, a 240 watt power supply, and a motherboard. It just needed a little love to turn it into the modest gaming computer I knew was somewhere in there. So I threw in 8 more gigs of RAM for about $18 and an NVMe SSD for $25. After lots of troubleshooting, pain, and tears, we finally got it working with 2 video card choices. A 4 gig GTX 1650 Super for about $100 and a 2 gig RX 460 for around $40. With shipping, the entire computer was about $240 with the GTX 1650 Super model and about $168 with the RX 460 model. And with that, our Optiplex became an Optiflex. That was good, right? I know, I'll be here all day. But these 2 video cards are still a far cry from what Bethesda approves. The minimum spec GPU is about 44% faster than my 1650 Super on average, and an embarrassing 250% faster than my RX 460. Not to mention it has 4 times more VRAM. But, and this is a really big but, I have confirmed that this computer does play AAA games. It doesn't look great, but I mean, it does play them, and that alleviates a lot of concern. So no, this experiment isn't futile. It's totally worth a shot. So let's give it a whirl. Whew. This will be my first time playing Starfield. Really not sure what to expect, especially on a video card like this. To give myself a softer landing, I started off with the 1650 Super. And I was obviously very nervous because performance here would dictate morale for the rest of this experiment. If the 1650 Super performed poorly, there was absolutely no hope for my RX 460. CPU's already at 100%, love to see that. I started with low settings at full 1080p, so no resolution scaling. I sent up a prayer and entered Starfield. We'll start with this, just all low. Let's just press new, start a new game, yeah. And y'all, it was pretty good. Oh. Dusty? What do you mean I'm a dusty? I didn't feel the need at all to tweak any settings because the performance was totally fine for me. Whoa. Dude, Vasco, you're totally carrying it right now. Whoa. So, I can breathe a little easier, but our real challenge is next, and that is the RX 460 with a measly 2 gigs of VRAM. If we can average around 25 FPS, I will be a very happy man. So this is with the RX 460. Got my coffee to ironically calm me down. I started with low settings at full 1080p yet again, so no resolution scaling. We will play with the same settings as the 650 Super and see what happens. Woo! I'm nervous. I'm nervous. We actually got it to run and open. That was a big thing. I sent up another prayer and entered Starfield. And God must have heard me because the opening scene was great. We were averaging 30 frames per second, which was higher than the desired 25. Got some beryllium. This is like totally fine. I'm honestly so surprised. And I'm sure that, yeah, we might lose a few FPS here and there when we go into more intense areas, but it can't get much worse than this, right? Okay, now it's bad. It's rough. It's really rough. And graphically, it looks pretty rough as well. Not gonna lie. It is absolutely clown behavior for me to think that the entire game was going to run like the opening scene. And if you thought that too, then congratulations. You're a clown as well. But hey, we're clowns together. But the worst part about this was I was already on low settings. How could I possibly make this work? Something has to change. So let's see. Let's real quick. We got to see what our options are here. Okay. I lowered my resolution scaling to 60% of 1080p and enabled CAS upscaling. These two settings essentially decrease the number of pixels that my video card needs to render. But in order to keep my sanity, because the game looked like hot dog water at this point, I decided to increase both ambient occlusion and indirect lighting to medium. Changing these settings dramatically improves both shadows and jagged edges, and it doesn't noticeably hurt performance. Changing these settings alone almost doubled our performance, but I wanted more. Thankfully, there is one thing that I can always count on with Bethesda games: mods. Since I exhausted all of my in-game settings, I needed a mod that would change something under the hood. Within minutes, I found exactly what I was looking for. The native resolution of Starfield's textures is 2048 by 2048, and it cannot be changed by in-game settings at all. So silly, but this low resolution mod by Bulwark HD fixes that. You can now run Starfield at 1024 by 1024 all the way down to 16 by 16. It's a fantastic solution for video cards with slow or small VRAM buffers like mine, and it actually makes a difference. We actually reclaimed a handful of frames. I personally settled on the 256 by 256 texture pack because it seemed like a happy medium between performance and graphics. There were some mild artifacts, but nothing game-breaking like when I tried 16 by 16. That was pretty rough. So, now that we've changed all of our in-game settings and we've modified our textures, how was Starfield? It was great. Well, sometimes it was great. Sometimes it was awful. New Atlantis was especially abysmal. Anywhere outside was awful performance, and that was with 16 by 16 textures. And don't even get me started on how bad it looked. But from what I know, you only use New Atlantis as a home base, sort of, where you collect missions. You're not really there for that long of time. So you could argue that if New Atlantis, a place that you're not going to be for a while, performs poorly, it's not that big of a deal. You could also argue away a couple of the crashes that I experienced. Please. No. Nor. It seemed to only happen after I cleaned my GPU shader cache, and I only do that if I add or update one of my texture mods. So again, not game breaking, but what's hard to argue away is the game's unpredictable behavior and funky bugs. Like if I ever opened an in-game menu, my FPS would tank. It would drop to something unplayable. Or sometimes performance would be great and then just bomb out of nowhere. Or vice versa. Performance would be bad and then it would almost heal itself. This could be the VRAM buffer being overloaded. This could be just having a slower GPU. This could be Starfield being weird. It's hard to tell, and lines get blurred when you have older minimum spec hardware, but I'm inclined to believe that part of this is Starfield's problem, since other higher end computers are reporting similar things. But somehow, what helped me was this. And I'm not even kidding. Originally, using a controller was my last resort because it's so embarrassing. I thought using a controller would Jedi mind trick myself into believing I was playing the game on a console. This would lower my expectations and I would enjoy the gaming experience a little bit more. It sounds crazy because it is. I told you this was my last resort. But here's the crazy thing. Controller gameplay was actually smoother. It was way less jittery. When performance dipped, I didn't notice it nearly as much as I did with a mouse and keyboard. And I actually found a Reddit thread where people have similar experiences, so I have confirmed that I am indeed not crazy. Apparently The Last of Us and Uncharted ports also had similar problems, so it does look like there's a track record with this kind of experience. I didn't really pursue this much further, but if you guys have any idea what this is or any leads, then let me know in the comments below. But 9 hours of gameplay later, did I enjoy playing Starfield? Yeah, I did. Just not on my $168 computer. While the $240 model with the 1650 Super was totally fine, the $168 model left a lot to be desired. It just wasn't worth the headache, and a used Xbox Series S for about the same price would give you a more enjoyable experience, assuming you're not dog water at controller combat like me. Whenever I do these types of projects, it always brings up the question of PC gaming accessibility. Like, Starfield doesn't allow you to lower the resolution textures, even though it's proven to dramatically improve performance. Why? And Starfield isn't the only culprit here. There are lots of other games that don't have certain settings in-game, and they make it really hard for you to change the configuration file itself. It's silly. Jeffrey Zatkin from Extra Credits has a video on this specific topic, along with a plethora of other video game development content. He worked on big projects like EverQuest, Settlers of Catan, The Matrix, and has lots of insight on how developers think. The video was short, but sweet, and you can actually watch it right now on Nebula. Nebula is an ad-free streaming platform owned by me and my creator friends. I post my content early on there sometimes, and a few extra goodies is my way to say thank you to the people there. And the package deal now includes Nebula Originals, or content specifically made to live on Nebula, and Nebula Classes, a way for you to sharpen or learn new skills. Jeffrey from Extra Credits has a whole class on what it takes to actually build a video game and how to plan your game development well. He talks through your target audience, the cost, monetization, game features, etc. If you're interested, then use my link, go.nebula.tv/OzTalksHW to get a huge discount off the annual Nebula subscription. It's only $2.50 a month, and it really supports me and my creator friends on our full-time journey. So thank you all for joining my slice of the internet. If you liked it, then leave a like. If you loved it, share, subscribe, and comment. And I'll try to respond to as many as I can. All right, that's it for this video. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.